2009 through 2017 Audi Q5 with the 3.2 liter FSI V6 engine vacuum pump replacement. I'm Brian Esser from How to Automotive. I'm going to walk you through the steps of replacing the vacuum pump. So the vacuum pump on the 3.2 liter engine is right here on the driver's side cylinder head, right here on the front. We're going to replace it due to oil leaks leaking onto the radiator hose, causing the radiator hose to swell and other issues. So we're going to change that pump out. So the first thing we're going to do is pop this cover off, just lift straight up and set aside. This cover is just held on with rubber grommets that mount onto these little ball sockets right here. We're going to be using a Purebird replacement vacuum pump. I will link this up in the description of the video. Also, the pump does not come with a gasket. I will link the gasket up in the description of the video also. Using the new pump, we can determine where the mounting bolts are. A couple of these are blind. So we're going to get started by removing the vacuum line first and then the nuts. So these vacuum lines, even with the clamp on them, are usually not that tight. I was able to just pull the vacuum fitting off just like this. You may have to cut the clamp off, but in my case, I was able to just pull it off. Now that you got the vacuum hose off, you can just kind of push it over to the side. To get the mounting bolts off, you're going to need a T30 Torx socket, and I'm using a little short flex head ratchet here to help get those. So the first mounting screw is going to be right under the vacuum fitting right here. It's kind of a blind, you can't really see anything, so you just kind of feel for it, and then you get the socket on there and crack it free, and you can spin it out. Having the new part close by is handy for a bolt location, so you can kind of just guesstimate where the bolts are when you're kind of working down there. If you come over from the side and work from the side like this, it's actually a little bit easier to get down in here. Your body is at a better angle to reach in here and get it. So once you get the two bolts on the bottom broke free and removed, go ahead and remove the top bolt. Once you get the top bolt out, now all three bolts are removed. So now we're ready to wiggle the pump out. So you're just going to wiggle it, rock it back and forth, and pull it straight out. And when you do this, you want to kind of keep an eye on how the gear in there is located. So when we put the new pump in, it's going to go back in the same way. So when you get your pump out, it's probably going to be an oily mess like this one. So one of the common problems is the vacuum pump leaks oil right onto this upper radiator hose here and makes the seal inside the upper radiator hose swell. So it'll make that the little gasket swell. So I recommend you change it out. There's just two clips on it, one clip on each end. You pull the hoses off and change it out. This is the seal that I'm referring to. Inside there will swell up and cause it to leak coolant. So I'll link this hose up in the description of the video, and you may want to change that hose out. You just pop it off and then pop it on, top off your coolant. So now what we need to do is get these housing here all cleaned up. So use rags, brake clean, whatever you need to do to clean it all up. Then after that, we're going to take our new gasket and put it on, and we're also going to rotate the pump here to make sure it lines up exactly the way the old one came out. So we'll install that gasket, line up the gear on it, and then after we get that installed, we'll lower it down into position. And then the way I'm doing it is I'm just kind of holding or pinching the gasket here as I'm lowering it down into place. And also want to be careful that the gear doesn't move. And you slide it on until it fully seats. Now you can start the top bolt and position the gasket into place. It's the easiest to get to. So I like to start the bolt a few threads, and once you got it started through a few threads, then run it in until it's almost snugged up but still a little bit loose. That way you have a little bit of play left to help line up the other bolts. So I found it easier to put it in my right hand and reach around the back like this to start the two bolts. So I reached around like this, got the two bolts started. Once I got the bolts started, I used the socket here to help spin them in faster all the way in until they're fully seated. Now you can put the ratchet on it and tighten the bolts up, all three. I started with the bottom one first, tightened it, and then did the top one here last. So I just tighten these up until they're snug, and then about a quarter turn or so more. You don't want to over tighten them, but you want to make sure that they're good and snug. Now you can go ahead and put the vacuum hose back onto the port here. If you feel like it's needed, you can change the clamp there. I'm going to reuse it. What I'm going to do is actually just tighten the clamp up with a pair of side cutters. So I put it on like that, and I'll tighten up both of these clamps. I'll just put the side cutters on right here and give them a little squeeze, and that'll help tighten them up a little bit. Now that you got the vacuum hose re-secure, we can go ahead and reinstall the top engine cover. And it's just going to press on with these little rubber grommets right here onto the little fittings on here. We're just going to line it up. Once you get the cover into position, you'll just push it down until it pops into place. You'll kind of feel it lock down. And then now what we can do is we can clean the engine bay if you want to use a pressure washer or something like that, and that'll complete the job of replacing the vacuum pump. I'm Brian Essa from How to Automotive. I will link up all the parts and tools that I use in the video in the description of the video. That way, if you need to pick up any of those, you can find those there. I'm Brian Essa from How to Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my video. Encourage you to subscribe. Invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this. I also wanted to share with you that I have a tool store. I'll leave a link for it in the description of the video. Thank you for watching.